Welcome back to Clash of Cultures. Today we're going to be previewing the first of the college football playoff semifinal, Alabama versus Michigan. We are now 5 to 6 days out. We were going to do a lot of the bowl games, but being that a lot of players are sitting out and stuff, it's kind of hard to keep track of because we may put out a video and somebody enters the transfer portal the next day. So we kind of just put out that content for no reason. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this game, obviously because all the starters are playing. But Dad, just to get right into it, obviously your heated rival, the Michigan Wolverines against Alabama. What are you looking forward to most of this matchup, and kind of what are you rooting for? I guess I'd say.
Let me say, so this is a tough one. I've actually talked about this kind of all week, because I obviously, as an Ohio State fan, despise Michigan, but I'm also a Big Ten fan, and I know how SEC fans can be. If Michigan goes and lays an egg, looks really bad against Alabama, it looks bad for the conference as a whole. Now, as we'll talk about the other game and then the national championship, whoever wins this game, I want them to lose. I want them to not win the national championship. But I am very torn between who I want to win this game. Again, Michigan just out of the ability to have some conference pride, but then Alabama just to obviously beat Ohio State's rival. And I suspect that this is going to be a very good game. I think stylistically very kind of close. Now, we may say with Milroe a little bit different. He's a little bit more dynamic as a runner than maybe JJ. But I think both of these teams live and die by their defense. Their defense is really who carries the day for them. Alabama is going to play Alabama football, but I think Michigan has now kind of created their own style, which is tough in the trenches behind Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. They're going to try to pound the ball at you, not necessarily great receivers, but that's just Michigan football. I think this is going to be a great game. What's your thoughts on it?
I'm like you. I'm kind of torn. Obviously, ever since the summer when we did the previews, Michigan was my favorite to win it all. Yeah. I think, like I said, they had the most complete team, in my opinion. Obviously, two of the best running backs, a great offensive line. As we saw throughout the year, a great defense. Really, the only question mark you'd say is the receiving room, but they've been, they haven't been bad. They've been an average receiving room, so it's not like that is a weakness by any means. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy was a little bit in Heisman conversation throughout the middle of the year. Then he kind of slowed down. I know against Penn State, they ran the ball like 28 straight times or something. So I think his Heisman kind of candidacy went away after that game because they realized that he wasn't really the go-to guy. It was really the offensive line, the defense, and the run game. But I think he is a above average quarterback in college football. So I think he has what it takes to get it done. But on the other side, you have Alabama, who I think is obviously the hardest team to beat, given a 30-day kind of window to prepare. I think you're going against the GOAT in college football as far as coaching goes. I had the conversation with an Alabama fan that I don't know if there's
was it Bama?
It was Bama. I don't know if there is a team that can consistently beat Alabama when you have 30 days to prepare. I think if we look at all of the playoff appearances that Alabama's had, I think they've only lost in the semifinal game one time, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they lost to Ohio State the year that we beat Oregon for the national championship.
So that was the very first one.
Is there another year?
I think that every other time they've always lost the national championship game. I know the two times Clemson beat them was in the national championship game. Georgia beat them in the national championship game. And I think they obviously beat Clemson once. They beat
Ohio State.
Beat Ohio State once.
The Mac Jones here.
Yeah, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've only lost once or twice in the semifinal, and they've been to playoff like 7 or 8 times. So, I think history and the data shows that when you give Nick Saban that much time to prepare, it's not a good recipe. I think in the SEC title game, he's like 16-1 or 12-1 or something crazy in the SEC title game. Obviously, that's only a week to prepare, but I don't know if Michigan's going to be able to pull it off. Obviously, they're the favorite by 2 points in this game. And I think they have a more complete team than Alabama does, but I think Alabama is the hottest team right now. I think they started off really slow. Obviously, losing to Texas, the USF game was ugly. And then they had another ugly game early on. But I think after that, they started to rail off a lot of big wins. I know the Auburn game was really close, but I think when you look at their resume post probably week 5 or 6, they have
the USF game.
Yeah, they have as good a resume as anybody in college football. Obviously, Milroe kind of stamped himself as the lead guy there. He had a few games where he had 3-4 rushing touchdowns, 6 total touchdowns. I just think he kind of got in tune with the offense and took command of it. And I think that's dangerous. I know we talked about them earlier in the year. Before the season, I said that Jalen Milroe would be a Heisman contender. I think in the second half of the season, he's probably the best quarterback in the country in the second half of the season. So, I mean, when you're looking at that, I just think he's playing his best football. I think Alabama's playing really good football. They have a good defense, obviously. They didn't lose much in the portal. I know they lost Ja'Cory Brooks. He went to Louisville, but I don't think he's going to be a big loss now that Jermaine Burton is kind of stamped himself. Funny. Quick little side note here. We have the Alabama fan FaceTiming me.
What up, Bama? What up, Jack Harlow?
I'll call you back. We're in the middle. We just talked about you. Let me call you back. We're recording.
Jack Harlow in the flesh.
I'll call you back. It's crazy. So the guy Scrawl, he won the first place in the pick'em. Bama came in second. And the guy Scrawl hasn't responded, so he keeps calling me every day, like, "Where's my jersey? Where's my jersey?" And I'm like, "Bro, you didn't win." And I told him, I was like, "If Scrawl doesn't hit us up soon, then I'll get to the jersey." But
okay, so you can change clothes.
I just relax. I just think Alabama's playing really good football right now.
Alabama's playing really good football. Go ahead.
I think Alabama's playing. Now I get what you're saying. Alabama's playing really good football right now, and I favor them over Michigan. Even though Michigan's a 2-point favorite, I like Alabama a lot in this game. Obviously, the Rose Bowl. I think at the Rose Bowl.
So wait a minute. Now you are picking Alabama to win.
If you had to say who I think's going to win, I'm going to pick Alabama. I just think, like I said, the history and the data shows that Alabama is really successful in the semifinal. I think with it being at the Rose Bowl, I think Alabama has an advantage. I think there's more Alabama fans than Michigan fans, and I think there's a lot of bandwagon Alabama fans that are just all over the place.
In Cali,
yes, I do think so. So I think they're gonna show up a little bit more. And again, I just think Nick Saban has way too much experience in kind of the spotlight in the big time game. So I favor them a little bit.
The point, and probably something I didn't consider. And the point you made that may have swayed me a little bit was that Nick Saban getting 30 days. And again, I think sometimes we underestimate how great of a coach he is. So some great points. And I think the X factor is Jalen Milroe's ability to run. I think that Michigan is a exceptional defense. And I think they're going to lock up a lot of the planned plays, the first looks, the first options. But the thing you can never really scheme for is a quarterback running, and especially because you're not really going to be able to spy him with a linebacker. They'll be able to outrun most linebackers. So I think that is going to be the X factor. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be able to extend some drives, get some first downs out of nothing when everything is taken away. He's going to be able to make some plays. But I think this Michigan team is well oiled. I think they know what they are. The TCU game last year, I think, was an anomaly. And the thing is, where I give Michigan a little bit of props is I think this is a team on a mission, right? They got dogged this last year. And not only are we talking about the TCU game, but their coach being suspended twice, being called cheaters, all of this stuff. And they seem to kind of band together through that. JJ McCarthy is also a guy who can extend plays, make some good plays. Not necessarily a guy who has to beat you with a 300-yard game, 4 touchdowns, but he's a guy who just he makes plays when he needs to make plays. He does the things that he needs to do to keep drives going and to keep them in games. Like I said, I think this is going to be a very fun game. Man, I feel almost swayed because I came into this video believing that I would pick Michigan. But that Nick Saban, the information about Nick Saban and thinking about the fact that, this is probably one of the greatest college football, not probably, but maybe the greatest college football coach of all time, and you're giving him 30 days. I'm sure he's poured over film. Yeah, I think I'm swayed. I think I'm gonna go Alabama very close. But I could. This is a coin flip for me. This could go either way.
Yeah, like I said, I think, in my opinion, I think the winner of this game wins it all.
I don't.
Well, it's just because you don't want them to. That's
Well,
why.
that may
So,
be part of it.
yeah,
But
I think these two teams, obviously Texas beat Alabama early on, but I think this is a different Alabama team. So I think if they matched up again, I think I favor Alabama in that game. Washington's kind of a tricky one to look at. We're going to do the preview on them in a couple of days or maybe tomorrow. But I think either one of these teams would be my favorite, depending on who won. I think either one is going to be my favorite for the. Obviously, Michigan's been my favorite all year long. But I think even if Alabama were to beat Michigan, who I deem to be my favorite, then I would kind of have to go with Alabama being my favorite. Because I think right now, if there's two teams that I would have to bet on to win it all, I even said this before, would be Alabama or Michigan, and that's just because I think Alabama's playing the best football out of anybody, and I think Michigan's the most complete team. So Michigan's been my pick the whole time, but I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama won all just based off the fact that Nick Saban is Nick Saban, and he has, like I said, the 30-day kind of window to prepare for whoever he's going for, or whoever he's playing against. And I think it is crazy that he's only lost that one time, if I'm not mistaken, the one time against Ohio State in 2014.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any more.
Yeah,
I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I can't think of one.
Yeah, because I know he beat Clemson 2 times in the national championship. He beat Clemson once in the national championship, one in the semifinal, and then we beat them twice in the national championship. So that's 4 games. Then 5 would be the Ohio State one. That's 5 out of the 9 playoffs. And then they beat Georgia in a playoff, so that's 6. So we're missing 3 more playoffs. I know they didn't make it. They didn't make it last year, did they?
How many times did they play? Go back. How many times did they play?
So they lost to Clemson twice in the national championship and beat them once. So that's 3. Then they beat Clemson once in the semifinal.
Okay. They played Ohio State twice. They lost to us once. They beat us once.
Okay.
They lost to us in the semifinals.
That's 6.
Then they beat us in the national championship.
The only problem is I don't know if the year that they beat Georgia was one of those same years. But I know they missed the playoffs at least. They didn't. I don't think they went last year, did they? Because it was TCU, Georgia.
No,
Michigan.
They didn't go last year in Ohio State.
Yeah, so I'm almost positive they only lost 1 time in the semifinal. And they've been 7 or 8 times, at least 7 times. So that's a crazy stat. So I don't think.
That's crazy.
And they've played against some really good teams. It's not like they're playing against bad teams. I know they beat the Cincinnati, but they beat Clemson with Deshaun Watson. Bad too. I think it was or it might have been Kelly Bryant actually, but it was 24-6.
That was the Kelly Bryant game, because when they beat them with Deshaun, but that was a very close game.
Yeah, they beat them with Deshaun 45-40, and then they lost to him the next year. But
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, this would be my favorite. I think, in my opinion, this is the national championship game right here. That's the way I see it. I wish that they switched the matchups and made it Alabama, Washington, maybe in Texas or Texas, Alabama. I would like to see that, but maybe they just didn't want to see a Texas Alabama rematch in the semifinal. Could be for theatrics or whatever. But that's going to wrap it up for our semifinal of the Rose Bowl preview. We're going to be doing the other bowl game, the other semifinal here either tomorrow or the next day. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think of this matchup, who you guys got winning, who's your favorite to win it all. And as always, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And we will see you guys next time. Peace out.
Absolutely.